Hello, this is extension of the previous video looking at the setup of Display Manager in this starter assets scene, the playground scene. There's these markers put with targets. They have show range on and they have show off screen. They don't have use range from. So let's look at that. There's you can see the range on every object now. That's quite a simple calculation based on the camera depth. It's quite performant because he's got to do that calculation every frame anyway. But if you look at the off-screen indicators, they're showing NA now. Can you see that at the bottom? It's NA because it's off-screen. Let's try and find it until it goes on screen where it gets its range back, because it has to be on camera to have a camera depth. Yeah, but that's quite performant. I mean, well, it's not a huge difference. I've not really tested it, but there will be a performance impact, a slight one, if you had loads of targets. If you switch on use range from, you can now see that it's showing the off-screen one has a range. The range might change slightly. Can you see the one in the middle? There's some of the numbers, the 11.3 and the 11.2s change. There's a slight difference between the camera depth to do with the screen size and a few other things like general magnitude, but use range from is calculating a distance from the range from transform here set to the camera to the object with the target. Now range from shows off screen, and it can also be set to not be the camera. So right, the reason I'm dragging this into don't destroy and load is I tried this and you have to have has to be in the same scene technically, which is don't destroy and load. But I could drag the player armature into the transform. Yeah. Now, did you see that? Let's close up. The number on this one will change slightly. 3.8. Difference between the camera. I'd have to drag the camera in as well. This is a weird system that you have to be on there to get this transforms to go into here. This is just like an editor runtime thing. So look, there's a slight difference between the distance from the camera and the distance from the player. Yeah. So now everything's set from the player, so it's an exact distance to the targets from the player. To set that off, set that up, not at runtime. It's just this simple. If you're in editor mode, you just go to Display Manager, drag in the player armature to there, and it's done. Okay. And it's just difficult to change during runtime if it's not in the don't destroy and load scene with Display Manager. So Display Manager will keep a singleton instance between scenes. Okay, so now we've got an exact distance to the player character. If I'd have when I'd stopped it, set these all to use range from. Okay, max range from means that you can set a distance like 20 meters. Okay, so these things, if it's a 0, there's no max distance. This is only when using range from. You got the exact distance to the player now. You can set a range here that will switch on off the target UI canvases based on range. So, okay, let's look at that. I mean, actually 20 meters is most of this zone. You can't quite see the one in the far right corner now. I think it will come up in a minute. Yeah, did you see that? See, it's at 18. Because of scaling, it's not massive, but look, see, between 20, the one in the distance, at 20 meters it switches off. So let's try these with a shorter range. Let's go like 10 meters, and it's more obvious. The only one in range is the one on top there. Nothing else is. It also affects its off-screen. Yeah, off-screen, it's very close to 10 meters. As you go outside 10 meters, off-screen it won't appear. Only the ones within 10 meters become visible. So if it's like quest markers and you've got to be near to it to see them, that's what the max range from is for. That's most of the easy stuff to use. It's an interesting feature, so you know, you don't want these targets to appear until the player's quite close to them. That's what this is for. It also means that you could do like a pop-up thing. If we go to the widget, the marker widget, as well as text range, we could add another text mesh pro. Let's get the right side of it. Well, there's always something. Oh no, it was right. Here we go. Okay, so we could angle this in the middle. To kind of say, try and get it inside the circle. Interact. I actually sort of fit press G or something. Press, you know, something like that. That an interaction message. So if we now look, those widgets was born with this on that. Only if you're within 10 meters. Because I didn't save that at editor time. Yeah, it was in runtime. So if you set it at 5 meters, say, you can get like this effect that press. So you know you got to go to it and you can press it. Maybe that was a bit close, a bit far away actually. Maybe you only want it like 3 meters or something. So at 3 or 2.5 meters, you'll press. So it's very logical that he's in pressing range. It pops up, you can press it. On this example, you don't even have to show range, although I think you'd have to switch that text box off to make sense of that. But it's like he's coming up to these things and you get the instruction, the interaction instruction as he gets close to it. So whatever the letter is, it would work. So it's quite useful for doing that. That's the basic usage. I mean, you have to also create a script with the input and stuff. I think I'll do that now as the second part of the video. But it's going to be a bit more complicated, involving scripting. Just to show interaction with the target and stuff, that it's got an in range on it. That you could actually have these set up with another target and actually use. What I'm thinking of is, because it's got an in-range calculation. Other ways to do this are like, have sphere casts around the things to enable interaction, that kind of thing, which you could still do in tandem with this. That's a kind of double check. This is like purely distance based. It's doing it every frame to give you the range accurately and switch on and off. I mean, if you're getting technical, more performant might be like a not every frame kind of sphere cast kind of thing. But seeing as we're using this, there's a feature that you won't see on the inspector, but the target has an in range thing. So what I was thinking is create a new script here. Call it something like interaction, target interaction. Okay, so let's make that the only one there, and look at some of the pop-up test stuff. Pause for this. And if you don't like coding, I'll probably not watch this, but here we go. And not even bother. So you got a target here. So we've got to include HUD. So we've got all the objects. We've got target. Now, this would be target is in range. See, that's built into, if the target is using range from, and it's inside that max range from, then the target is in range. Okay, so that's using target is in range. Then you can do whatever using that. I mean, target dot, it's whatever you wanted to do. So it's basically press the interact. So they've pressed it, they pressed G, and then what did it do? Anything else you want to add to this script, like a pop-up launcher, you could say pop-up launcher dot spawn pop-up widget. Okay, and this can be any kind of pop-up widget. So let's rig that up and see if it works at this point. So what we're talking about is adding to each of these a target interaction script, putting the target into it, creating a pop-up launcher, this needs a widget ID, interaction, interact, easier to type. So let's go to add a new pop-up and make this a speech bubble. It's just a really simple thing with just new text on it.